90-year-old Inkatha Freedom Party President Mangosuthu Buthelezi is not stepping down. He's been Inkatha's president for 44 years since its inception in 1975. Buthelezi believes the latest electoral results showed Inkatha was not a one-man show. IFP Member of Parliament Mkhuleko Hlengwa joins us now from our studios in Durban. A very good evening to you, Mr. Hlengwa, and thank you so much for speaking to us. So let's get that categorically clear. Is it true that Buthelezi is not stepping down as president of the Inkatha Freedom Party?
Well, President Buthelezi was very clear today. I would be surprised if the reporting had been otherwise, because he was on record to say that he will lead the party as he was mandated to do so by the Extended National Council in January, and come conference he would then step down. We had made that announcement in Jan and nothing has changed. And so Principal Buthelezi is consistent with the IFP constitution and our operating procedures for deployment will be going to Parliament because he's party president, and so we're not going to create a vacuum at this point in time. And so come next week he'll be going to Parliament, and when we go to conference, as he indicated yet again today, he'll be stepping down at that conference.
And that conference will be in June, is that correct?
The conference is scheduled to take place no later than July this year.
No later than July this year. Is there anything that would lead to a postponement, as we've seen postponements for several years now? Is there anything that would prevent that conference from taking place, that would make people believe that he is not willing to step down?
Well, I'm not going to preempt or speculate. All that we know as a party is that the party is going to the conference no later than July, and Prince Buthelezi is managing the transition of the party as mandated by the structures, and following the nomination of Comrade Mkhuleko Hlengwa to be president, and for conference to make a decision on that. And so there is nothing which would cause people to believe otherwise. We've been very transparent about our processes, and Prince Buthelezi has been at the forefront of ensuring that we have a smooth leadership transition, particularly as encapsulated in our strategy, the roadmap to smooth leadership transition as adopted by previous conferences. So at this point in time, it would be irregular to want to speculate on something which is not on the table. The party is conference focused following these elections.
And just on the issue of Mr. Hlengwa, he obviously has been chosen as a successor. There were times when there were suggestions that the party is divided. There were the internal factions over this, but you at some point at the beginning of the year said that has been dealt with and everyone is rather behind and united, Mr. Hlengwa, going into that leadership transition. Is that still correct?
There's never been any divisions and there's never been any factionalism insofar as this matter is concerned. Comrade Mkhuleko Hlengwa was nominated unanimously by the structures, not chosen, and it was a democratic process of nomination as we kick-started our conference processes. As far as we are aware as a party and as far as we are concerned, the structures have not deviated from that particular nomination that they made, and so the allegations divisions are unfounded, and quite frankly we see them as nothing but mischievous commentary by those who want to sow divisions within the much envied unity which exists in the IFP and the stability that we have. Of course, our detractors who suffer from factional phobia and so on are the ones who are dealing with factions, and they are now seeking to derail us with rumor mongering and lie peddling. The IFP is very united insofar as its processes are concerned, and Comrade Mkhuleko Hlengwa remains firmly our candidate.
All right, so let's talk to the meeting that was held today to look back at your performance during the elections. Buthelezi is saying that he believes that the party is back in form following the results that were seen, especially in KwaZulu-Natal. What was this attributed to largely?
Well, we went back to the basics and we mobilized our branches and our constituencies who carried this campaign. Secondly, we had a very clear and focus manifesto, backed up by a track record of service delivery where we have governed and continue to govern. And thirdly, is the issue of stable leadership, which existed in the party. It inspired confidence in the electorate that the IFP is able to manage its internal issues with the necessary political discipline. And of course, we attribute largely this electoral performance to Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, who marshaled the forces with the highest level of discipline and ensured that the forces were on the ground. Even in the face of personal tragedy, he was able to come out back into the campaign trail and lead our efforts. It was, of course, unfortunate that some detractors wanted to vilify and criticize him as if he was the one who had chosen to remain in the position of party president. And I want to put it on public record yet again that Prince Buthelezi was requested by the structures of the IFP to lead us during this election, given the fact that we were not going to be able to go to conference. And so any criticism towards him is undue, and if anybody's got questions as to why he remained, they should come to the IFP. So all those factors combined ensured that the IFP election machinery was functional, effective and efficient, and was able to get to wherever it needed to go, and hence the results that we had. We come out of these elections with electoral growth. We come out with an increased number of parliamentary seats, and with a renewed confidence going to 2021 that we will be able to further increase the IFP support following long years of ANC-sponsored challenges, including but not limited to the formation of the NFP.
He's been reported as saying today that he in fact believes that the IFP can survive without him, even though he's founder and president at the moment. How does he foresee this happening? Will he leave the structures of the IFP soon?
Well, he's confident in the leadership that he's been working with, because he has maintained, and we have maintained for the longest of time, that he is a first amongst equals. He has been a comrade in arms, and he has been a colleague, not working in isolation, but working with the NEC, the National Council, and the structures of the party. And so the electoral outcome is a collective effort that he led, and he's pretty confident that he has groomed leaders within the IFP of all demographics and all generations to ensure that there's sustainability and continuity. Of course, the biggest challenge that arises out of this matter is that the fact that the criticism comes to the party that it's a one-man show is not an IFP engineered one. It's because certain sections of the media want to paint that picture, and so-called commentators and other colorful characters in the political discourse choose to know more about the IFP than what is actually there. So Prince Buthelezi is certain that the political infrastructure that the party has and the results that we have achieved in these elections are a solid foundation and a springboard for 2021. And so, and he will
jump in, Mr. Hlengwa, and ask this question: why do you think that there's certain sections of the media who actually have an agenda against Nkosi Buthelezi?
Well, Prince Buthelezi has been at the receiving end of political vilification in this country from 1979. Even the SABC platform at some point during the apartheid regime had received backlash for covering him, and we have seen time and time again the blackouts. We've seen time and time again people abusing their positions of analyzing. Just during this election campaign, you've had so-called analysts coming onto air saying all sorts of nonsensical things, and so it does not surprise us. But what is equally important is that the electorate is choosing to reject that, and the comeback of the IFP is testament to the fact that South Africans are not idiots, and they are able to see through propaganda and the lies.
But isn't it just portraying him as a victim? Is he not responsible for some of the accusations against him? Is in the manner in which he's been portrayed? And I know exactly what you're speaking about here. It's about his history during homeland leadership, and this is what was reflected on.
Well, Prince Buthelezi took up the leadership of KwaZulu at the behest of the ANC leadership, because at the time, in fact, he was a cadre of the ANC. So it was not something that he wanted to do personally, but it was a mandate that he was given by his leaders at the time, so that the system could be undermined from within and reject the balkanization of South Africa. And that's why KwaZulu, for example, was never a Bantustan. And so we are firmly convinced that he is a victim of circumstances which arose out of instructions given to him. And Professor Herbert Vilakazi has written extensively about the tension of relations between the IFP and the ANC arising from the London meeting in 1979.
And that's a conversation, Mr. Hlengwa, I'm afraid we have run out of time.
No, thank you very much, but it's important to put it on the public discourse, and I hope we can have the discussion further so that we can clarify these issues.
Absolutely. IFP Member of Parliament Mkhuleko Hlengwa, and we'll move on to other